I wanted to do an episode today on the deal between Hamas and Israel in terms of a hostage release and a possible ceasefire. I just want to qualify that this is an issue that's dear to my heart. I'm a Jew. I'm a big supporter of Israel, and so I do not pretend to be giving over impartiality. I would rather like to discuss the topic from the perspective of America and Israel and what each side has to get out of it, and if I think it's a good deal from each one's perspective. So I think there's a couple of points one has to evaluate. Firstly, is this a good deal or a bad deal? And that question really breaks down into a couple of questions. Firstly, is it a good deal? Meaning, is the whole deal a good deal or part of the deal a good deal? Because it's very unclear to me if both sides intend for this deal to lead to a full ceasefire. Right? There's stages. Each stage is going to have Palestinian terrorists be freed in exchange for Israeli hostages, and eventually that will lead to a ceasefire. But does any side actually believe that it will? Then the other question I want to evaluate is what that says to the Biden administration, what that says about Trump, and how that plays into it, and then how this affects the broader region, and what possible promises maybe Trump made to give to get them to do this deal. Right. So, is it a good deal or a bad deal? So, my position is that Israel should never do a hostage deal ever. They should never return a terrorist for Israeli hostages, because I believe, like the Talmud says, that all that does is just increase incentives to release hostages. I think the policy of the State of Israel should be that if you take any of ours, we will do anything in our power to get them back. We will rarely destroy you to get them back. But their policy should not be to release terrorists. That being said, that is not the policy of the State of Israel. That is not the expectation of the State of Israel. So with that in mind, that is already a foregone conclusion that Israel would do deals like this. In that context, and in that political context, and in the culture of that country, it really feels like Israel has to do this deal. Israel cannot pass up an opportunity to get its live hostages back. I don't see how they can say, well, we did it a few months ago, but we won't do it now. There is no difference in terms of the type of prisoners they're going to release. They're all potentially bad. They all should never be released. They all should be convicted, tried, and executed, or left in prison forever. But that is not what the policy of Israel is, and that is not what's going to happen. So if there are going to be hostages, it is not right for the people of Israel and for the State of Israel to not do a hostage deal like this one. The question is it a good deal? So, like in terms of like Israel going to ceasefire, and also and a sub question of that is, this deal was basically the one that Biden has had on the table since the summer. So if this is such a great deal for Israel, why did they accept it now? So a lot of commentators are saying that it's just because Trump is a harder negotiator, and Trump did what Biden didn't. And from that perspective, I guess the silver lining over here is this is a tremendous repudiation of the Biden administration. This is a shameful embarrassment to them, because on paper this looks to be the exact same deal as they had in August. And Biden couldn't get it through, and Trump came along, and now he got it through. So Trump, from the perspective of Trump, it's great for him, and also he does not want to have this. He does not want to have this in his administration. So the fact that he was able to put pressure before his administration comes in is a remarkable political win, and everybody is giving him credit for it in the left wing, in the right wing media. It's something pretty incredible. So Trump is just like riding high at this point. Now, to the point. This looks very bad from that perspective for Netanyahu, because why, if this was such a good deal, so why did we have to lose soldiers and have hostages being executed if we could have done this deal. So from that perspective, it would seem like a terrible embarrassment for him. But I don't think so, because there are two major differences now. Firstly, the Israelis could not trust the Biden administration. They could not trust them to say that if we could pull out a little bit, and if they don't keep their side of the bargain, then we'll go back. Because they knew under the Biden administration they would never be able to go back. So once they pull out, it's over. But now that Trump has said that all hell will break loose, and Trump is a much more serious negotiator, it's very likely that he said that, look, if they break the ceasefire, you have free reign. And so and that really deals with the question we had before, that maybe Israel never expects this to lead to a full ceasefire. That is why things are different. The other point is that the Biden administration has completely and utterly, shamefully dropped the ball on the Abraham Accords. That's how October 7th happened in the first place, is because the Palestinians were terribly fearful of the Abraham Accords. Just to remind everyone, the Abraham Accords were peace initiatives between Israel and other Arab states, independent of the Palestinian question. And they always say we'll eventually get the Palestinian question, but that's how all Israel's peace agreements go. You see that with Egypt and Jordan. They all were there's going to be, even in the agreement, Israel promises to make a Palestinian state with Egypt. They've had peace for years. There's no Palestinian state. I mean, unless you agree with Google, but it doesn't exist. So there'll probably be now, we cannot underplay the significance of this. If Israel were to do a deal with Saudi Arabia, the head of the Muslim world, the head of the Sunni Muslim world, to say that Israel is now is on good standing, good relations with Saudi Arabia, that Israelis can travel there, that there can be commerce between the two countries, that would almost completely destroy the Palestinian cause. This is something that was almost done right before October 7th. And if it is true that the rumors are true that Israel has now been assured that they will get a deal with Saudi Arabia, that would be worth entertaining this ceasefire. And because of course something we haven't dealt with is that Israel's stated goal of this war was to defeat Hamas and destroy them. Now that has not been achieved. So is it a failure from that perspective? And I think the answer is yes. But that wouldn't be an argument in favor of not doing the deal, because Israel had a year and a half now to try and find their hostages. And during this conflict, Israel has done amazing things. They destroyed and debilitated Hezbollah. They clearly orchestrated the end of the Syrian regime. These are remarkable feats. And I think what they have in common is that those are organized regimes. I think it's clear that Hamas cannot be destroyed in a conventional way, because the Palestinian people are Hamas, and Hamas are the Palestinian people. This is an organic organization. They have broad support because the identity of the Palestinian people is to destroy the state of Israel. So unless you can get that group to join another state, or Israel has to somehow clear that area, which is impossible, and there is no stomach for that, and it is because it would be completely immoral and unconscionable. So there is no way to empty Gaza of its Palestinians, and therefore there is no way to empty of Hamas. And so Israel is going to have to do a better job of security, and Israel is going to have to Israel's going to have strong agreements about what happens if there's rockets again. But destroying Hamas does not appear to be possible, because if it was possible, Israel had free reign in the Gaza Strip. We can say that the Biden administration tied their hands, but that's really difficult to believe. Netanyahu really did not take what Biden said seriously, especially once the election was over. But they went into Rafah, they went in everywhere, they've cleared out as many tunnels as they can, and they appear not to be able to destroy Hamas. And I'm not trying to criticize the IDF, but if they're not able to accomplish that, and it's an important thing. This is something we're going to talk about a lot on the podcast. But when talking about military, when talking about using military strength, you have to understand the limits of that, because the belief that your military is invincible ends up in disasters like Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam, where the belief that military strength will produce wanted outcomes when there's no clear goals that are possible just produces tragedy and resentment and destruction of life and treasure. So from that perspective, I think that Israel does have to at least start this deal, at least give it a chance. And although it's heavy on our hearts, Hamas has not been defeated. There has to be a new strategy on that now that they've been degraded. And those are my thoughts. Have a good Shabbos, and we'll check back next week.